hello, and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 218 of The Reformed Gamers, a show about theology, video games, and prophesying video games, releasing, announce, all that jazz. I'm your host, as always, Logan, and for those of you maybe unaware, our recent new co-host, Micah here, is now Prophet Micah, is what I'm going to call him. We'll get into that a little bit here. And I recognize... I knew this going in, that there might be a little bit of controversy calling you Prophet Micah. We might get some strange emails. It's not confirmed that you're a prophet, but no, I'm just saying, man.
I mean, there is. I am the minor prophet, I guess, Micah, in the Bible, but no. No, I just had a lucky stab with some educated guesses, man, for the state of play this past week from when we're recording this, a couple of weeks ago for when it releases publicly, which we're going to get into here in the news in a little bit. But I just said that we're gonna see Final Fantasy 16. We're gonna see Resident Evil Remake. We're gonna see Stray is going to get a date. We're not going to see God of War. And all those things came exactly true. So that was that was pretty nice.
It was pretty wild. I had that tweet pulled up as I was watching it later on in the state of play, and I'm like, this dude has literally called every single thing that has been shown or happened or whatever, and it is blowing my mind right now.
Dude, I was absolutely loving it. And, like I said, we'll get into it in just a minute as far as the details of what was covered. But that was arguably the best state of play, not like PlayStation Showcase, but like state of play that they've had maybe ever.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. I was all kinds of hyped. I was, if any of you have seen the movie Mean Girls, there's this scene where Katie attacks Regina George in the lunchroom, and everybody starts freaking out, acting like, animals and stuff, and like freaking out. I'm like, that was literally me at the beginning of it, seeing Resident Evil 4 Remake. I was like, oh my gosh, this is all I need. I wasn't expecting this to start off, but before we get into that, a little bit of housekeeping here. I had to make sure I use a soundboard, otherwise Skinner would beat me up. He left a note in our show notes here that says, the dear editor wants all the dear listeners to know that he is sorry for his absence and misses them all. He's actually back to editing episodes now that he's gotten everything together, and thankfully I don't have to edit them anymore, except for the YouTube stuff. But it's funny, this happens all the time. Anytime that I say I'm going to edit an episode, something inevitably goes wrong. So we'll see how it goes. And he also left a note in here for me to use the sounds and the soundboard that we pay for, and so got to use them. I got them on standby here, ready to use, especially this one. This one's my favorite. There we go. For all of you baseball fans there, which actually, Mike, you got to see a game here.
Yes. Get into that.
But yeah, so that's enough of housekeeping. As always, links to everything we talk about will be in your show notes. So if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on your podcast app, just check the description box and you'll see links to everything we talk about, so you can go check this stuff out for yourself. Now, again, with Micah coming on, we're changing things up a little bit. If you don't like it, well, get used to it. I'm not a huge fan of change either, but I can adapt for this because this is my show and we do what we want. So, state of play happened. Micah and us just kind of talked about it a little bit here. Probably the best state of play that they've done ever, at least yet. So they set the bar kind of a little high for them for the future state of plays.
Yeah.
But let's get into it, man. Let's kind of talk a little bit about that, go over some of that news there before we get into our mailbag discussion that our patrons wrote in for this episode here. And dear listeners, in future episodes, kind of look forward to this. We'll talk a little bit about some big news stuff at the top, get into what we've been playing, and then go into the topic as well. It just kind of depends. So just like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. Now, the state of play, I'm going to be honest. I went into this, as I always do, tweeting out the meme that I have of Kratos saying,
of course,
if you keep your expectations low, you'll never be disappointed. Because I've learned from the past with state of plays. Just go in, low expectations, find some little happy, little delightful surprises, and you'll be all right. But this one, I went in with my expectations low, and it's like state of play just grabbed my expectations and threw them up into space. Because I'm just like, they kicked it off by showing Resident Evil 4 Remake. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was not expecting it, man. And we'll go over some of these games that they showed, some of our favorites. Man, Micah, what was your thoughts when it started off and it was going in?
Well, first of all, Sony has been doing and a lot of companies really, but Sony's been doing a really good job of setting expectations when they announced the show. A couple of days prior, or whatever. They said specifically that we're looking at third-party titles, and we're going to look at a couple of PSVR 2 titles, and they specifically said that. So, it's kind of helping the viewer start setting expectations. Like, okay, we're not going to see a God of War. That was one of my picks, which I think was, pretty easy slam dunk. So going in, it was like, okay, is this their E3 show? It kind of felt like it might be. It's like, it's June, here we are, and it was kind of like half of their E3 show or something like that. Like maybe they're going to have a first party show later on in closer to the fall, maybe. So they're setting expectations about third party. So when it first popped up, Resident Evil 4, that was the first thing shown. It really made itself kind of set up to be like, this is the Last of Us remake or something like that. It looked like as far as the trailer was playing out, and we're like, oh, well, that's weird. The Last of Us. Okay. And then no, they kind of trick you, and it's Resident Evil 4, and they dive right into it. And man, this is one of the games I've been reporting on over on Dear Listeners Newsroom. This game has been percolating, man. It's been heavily rumored for a couple of years now, I think. Yeah. And boy, howdy, these Resident Evil remakes have just been chef's kiss good. Yeah, and it looks like the trend is continuing. Of course, Logan and I are very biased. We're huge survival horror fans, and that's not a genre for everyone. A lot of you people are like, just your eyes are glazing over right now as we're talking about it. But dude, I am so pumped for this game. I've only played through the game one time originally, really back in the day. So yeah, I've truly, I know this one almost the least out of all the mainline Resident Evils. So I'm particularly excited to kind of go back in with pretty fresh eyes for it. So yeah.
No, I'm the same way. This is how much I really love Resident Evil. I went and because I showed my wife the trailer. I was like, oh, Resident Evil 4 remake got shown off. Let me show you the trailer. And she was like, cool. Looks scary. And then she was like, those textures look kind of last gen, like old. I'm like, hold up, what? I was like, what do you mean the texture? I was like, what do you mean the textures look last gen? So I pulled up a video that was comparing like the original game and the remake. I was like, look at these. You want to see these textures be last gen? Look at what they were on the GameCube. Look at what they were on PS2. They're so bad. Look at what they look like on there. But then it showed something interesting to me that kind of has me thinking that, or kind of has me a little more excited for this remake. And so they pointed out that as Leon's going into that first cabin at the beginning of the game, his coat, like his leather jacket that he wears at the beginning, looks exactly like it was in the original version of the game, but that they ended up kind of scrapping and redoing. And so it has me wondering, like, okay, so they have that in there, and they've said that this game is going to be a bit of it's still going to be similar to the original game, but there's going to be some changes that are going to have the same, I think they said the same direction, but it's going to be different. And so I'm sitting there wondering, like, okay, I know the original Resident Evil 4 was supposed to have things like supernatural elements with ghosts and things like that. I'm wondering if they're going to somehow take some of those ideas from the original game and blend them into this and kind of give us a almost like what Resident Evil 4 was originally supposed to be meets the new stuff. And I just got even more excited about that.
I think that's exactly what they're doing. That was the main thrust of the report that I had a few weeks ago. I think it was Imran Khan, who was the site that reported it at the time, or the reporter, I should say. And that you're absolutely right. There was an original kind of a darker, more kind of a claustrophobic kind of a demo that was out there for the GameCube. Again, it originally launched on GameCube back in the day. And it just had a different feel. And they, at some point, they definitely steered the direction of the development a different way. And we got the final product, which was great. Yeah. But many fans, myself included, were always kind of wondering about that other version that kind of got abandoned. It was very alluring at the time. I remember being excited about it. And so to get maybe at least a taste of that is extra exciting to me. Yeah.
So I'm excited, man. Can't wait. March something next year, March 23rd, I think next year.
Something like 24th, I think. But
can't wait. I will say this. We've said this a couple times on the Facebook group. I wish we were getting Code Veronica X first.
Yep.
But I get it. I get it.
100%.
Resident Evil 4 is more popular, but
soft spot in my heart for Code Veronica. Borrowed my buddy's Dreamcast just to play that game.
Yeah. So, and like I said, I'm trying to remain optimistic about this because Capcom just really seems like they're in a state of like, we know what our fans want, we'll give it to them. And this might be something where, we get Resident Evil 4 remake next year, and the following year we get Code Veronica X, because it is a comparably smaller game. So, they might RE2, RE3 remake us
at this point. Like, I don't think anyone's asking for a Resident Evil 5 remake,
I mean,
maybe some people, but like some people will take it.
I would love to see Chris sucker punch a boulder in 4K, just high res graphics. Man, I would eat that up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, I hope they keep the. I put a reply to one of your Twitter things about Resident Evil, the gif of Leon in Resident Evil 4 going away in the like speed, or what do you call it, like the jet ski thing, and it's like he doesn't go with him. I hope they keep that in the new version as well.
I hope so. Golly, what a game.
Man, let's move on. Final Fantasy 16 ended. I think that's the next big thing. Let's just we can just kind of go in like order of kind of what hypes us, I guess. Final Fantasy 16 closed the show. Dude,
looks good.
Like the trailer was off the chain, hype. Like when they started singing the names of all the summon titans at the end of it, it's like, oh my goodness, this is awesome.
Yeah, and they all look incredible. They all look incredible. I noticed something when I was watching this. I was like, man, a lot of the, and I'm not saying this as a diss. I just was something I noticed. I'm like, these all look like, this looks kind of similar to Final Fantasy 14, the online MMO Final Fantasy in some ways. And come to find out, like, a lot of the heads have worked on Final Fantasy 14. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes so much more sense now. But it looks good.
Did you see that the combat director is from Capcom, and he had previously worked on like Devil May Cry 5, and I think Dragon's Dogma and things like that. Like, this game is going to be sick.
That's insane. Oh, dude, a Final Fantasy
it's got
game
a great leadership, like the core leadership of the game, like the main directors, art director, obviously the like main game director, and like all those sorts of things, all those sorts of leaders are like, just, it's kind of like a creme de la creme, just like, yes, gimme.
Man, I didn't notice that. That has me even more excited then, because DMC5 has like some of the best just overall gameplay of any game I've played in the last couple of years. It's man, really well designed. I understand some people don't like the subject matter, but from a technical perspective, the gameplay is insanely good.
Yeah, absolutely. What's something else that popped out? Because I've got one that I want to call out, but what's something else that jumped out to you from the show?
Yeah, so a couple things. One of the things I definitely want to point out is I won't be picking this up because I've already played through these games, gotten the platinum, they're on my PS5. But I think Spider-Man, both Spider-Man, the original game, and then Spider-Man Miles Morales coming to PC was huge, because that's easily one of the best PlayStation exclusives, probably the highest selling one, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, you'll have to correct me on it. But you're right. Coming to PC is just nuts. So many more people are gonna get to enjoy that game now.
Oh man, and that Black Suit Spider-Man mod is gonna be there like day one.
Yep.
Dang,
I didn't even think about it. You know what? Maybe I will pick this up on PC just so I can get that. Yeah, that was the one suit I was missing from the game. I was like, man, if I could have that black suit, I don't want to get into spoiler stuff, but if I could have that black suit, oh man, it's my favorite suit that Spider-Man's ever done, next to 2099's.
Yeah, for those who have played the game, maybe not a big splash, but for PC crowd, look, this is an absolutely huge game. I think Sony announced it had sold like 30 million copies up to this point.
That's nuts
on PlayStation alone, so that will be a big one. One of the ones I wanted to call out is the Callisto Protocol.
Yes.
With this new, again, survival horror game from Glenn Schofield, who created Dead Space.
See, I didn't know that until before we started recording this. I went and watched the trailer, read the thing, and I was like, oh man, because I was watching it during the state of play. I'm like, this feels like Dead Space. I wonder why that is. And then I read the thing that it was from the guy who started Dead Space. I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And it seems like maybe they're wanting to get it out before the actual Dead Space remake, which I think is scheduled for January. Yeah. The Callisto Protocol, they said, is coming out in December, so we'll see if they hit that. But just a lot of the same vibes, like you said, where it's like, yep, sign me up. Very gory. So not for the faint of heart, but yeah, that looks right up my alley for sure.
And something I noticed when I was watching the trailer just a few moments ago, we were talking about how, or you were mentioning how it has a lot of Dead Space vibes on it, and I'm like, even down to what appears to be the HUD, because the character you play as, he has this collar on the back of his neck that's lit up with green LEDs that I assume is going to go down and change colors as you lose health, just like you did in the original Dead Space. And so I'm like, dude, let's go. Like I didn't know what this game was until I watched the trailer. I'm like, okay, this is a little gory, a little violent, but it feels like Dead Space. I love Dead Space. I'll give it a go.
Yeah. Outside of that, there was a nice smattering of indies, such as we got a date for Stray, that cat game, which looks pretty darn good. It looks better and better each time we see it. We got another look at that game Season, which I think was shown at one of Jeff Keighley's events sometime recently. Within the past 12 months, that resurfaced and looks pretty neat. Tunic, the Xbox indie hit, is coming over to PlayStation, and a dating sim / action adventure anime, something called Eternite. So what did you think of this one, Logan?
Man, I was like, so when I first watched this, I was sitting there going, okay, anime, I like anime. Okay, it kind of reminds me of Persona a little bit. I like Persona. And it said something about a dating sim, and I'm like, hold up, what? Like, why? I mean, to be fair, that's kind of one of the big mechanics in Persona is you pick your I don't want to call her a waifu. That just sounds really weird and cringe to say that, but you get to know the characters, and then you play as a male character, so you get to romance one of the female characters, and it never really gets scandalous, as I'm sure other games seemingly. But this one seemed like it's going to lean a little more into that, and I think the guy that is working on it was a huge fan of Persona, and so that's why he's kind of incorporated some of those elements. And I'm like, okay, it looks cool. I'm going to give it a go.
Sure, why not?
The dating stuff isn't too cringy.
Why not? Yeah, there was some PSVR stuff too, Horizon Call of the Mountain, but we've probably spent enough time on this. Probably should dive into what you've been playing.
Yeah, man, for sure. But that being said, before we get into that, dear listeners, again, if you want to watch that for yourself or check out the PlayStation blog, links will be in your show notes for that there. But let's get over to what we've been playing. Micah, what you been into, man?
Yeah, and not a whole lot different from last time. I've been pretty busy, but I did finish up Ghostwire Tokyo and got the platinum for that game. Logan, I want to bounce this off of you after I'm done, because I know you got some thoughts on the game too.
Yeah.
This game, last time I said it was like, good, not great. I think that opinion is kind of locked in. It was... it's a collectathon game in the Spyro the Dragon kind of genre, and I gotta say, this one was I'm a trophy hunter. This one was one of the more grading, I should say, collectathons I've dealt with. Man, it felt like a drag as I was finishing up those last couple of trophies, and it did the thing where we talk about sometimes, Logan, where you're like, I'm liking this game less and less as I continue on.
You got to be willing to hate a game if you want to platinum it.
So I did get the platinum. I enjoyed the game, especially, and let me say this, the ending is really good and poignant. I think the main actor who plays Akito, the lead, does a fantastic job on the vocal performance. It's really quite powerful, and it's got a nice ending that was... Overall, the rest of the story, I kind of didn't think it was leading up to much of anything, but it really kind of hit me in the feels nicely. So it did wrap up nicely. But Logan, I know you got some different thoughts on it, man. So let's hear yours real quick.
So mine are kind of similar to yours, actually. But I'll take it a step further and say that I actually gave up on the game, because I got 10 hours in, I was like, oh man, I'm going to platinum this game. The trophy looks fine. And then I started collecting those spirits, and I realized, I'm like, this is really just tedious. Like, oh my gosh, it's giving me like 50 to 100 spirits at a time, sometimes 200, sometimes 300. But I'm like, there's 240,000 spirits to collect in the game. Like, when you say this game is a collectathon, you are not kidding. That's what this game is through and through. And just as I continued doing that more and more of collecting those things and trying to find the hidden stuff and do all that, I was just like, man, I just do not like collectathons anymore. Apparently, I used to play Crackdown pretty heavily back on the 360, and that really is a collectathon / shooter type game. But this one, I got so bored doing that, and then I just found the combat just kind of boring after a while. And I had even upgraded a lot of the moves and given myself some more powers and stuff, or given the different moves more power. But I got to a point where I'm like, okay, it's the same lather, rinse, repeat. Just go through the thing, do the same moves, use the fire to get rid of the shield stuff, use the wave if you get surrounded. I just got really bored. Like, I know you could technically say every game is repetitive to a degree, but this one it really just became very apparent of how repetitive the combat is. And I just found myself just not caring. And I was like, well, I'm done with this game for at least now. And I may come back to it later, because I did spend 2 months playing Elden Ring. I did play Horizon Forbidden West, struggled through that because of the glitches. It might just be open world fatigue. I might play this in the fall or something closer to Halloween and be like, okay, this is actually really dope. But for now, I've given up on the game just because I'm
that makes kind of sense. That's a completely valid thought, and I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I think I had a little bit more kind of leniency with the combat repetitiveness. But good game. Like I said, not great.
Right.
The other thing I've been playing is so my oldest daughter is like way into softball, like little league softball right now. I took her to we're in Georgia, so I took her to her first Braves game last night. We had a blast. They won 3-2, no big deal. Ronald Acuna just jacked 2 home runs, no big deal. But world champion Atlanta Braves, no big deal.
But I feel like you're laying this, you're stacking this up pretty thick for some of our listeners, and I think I might have a few in mind.
Hey, I know there's some Georgia boys in the Facebook group. Go Braves! Anyway, it doesn't come around too often, so I gotta gloat when I can.
Oh,
but anyway, in that spirit, my daughter and I both had a hankering for MLB The Show. We had, or she certainly never played one, and I haven't played a baseball sim. Goodness, maybe not ever in the modern era. This may be my first one I've ever actually bought. It's super good, man. I don't think you need me to tell you that The Show is a good game.
Yeah.
This is one thing I'm going to keep going forward. That Adam Sutherland had that kind of brought to the show is I like sports games and sports just like he does. So I'm going to bring that same flavor sometimes to the show. MLB, I'm doing the Road to the Show right now, which is like you build your minor league player, you can kind of customize them, whatever, you can make them however you want, and kind of work your way up through the ranks up to the big leagues. And so I'm doing that right now. It's a lot of fun. It's like it's really an approachable game because there's tons of difficulty sliders for various things that you can tweak. So it's really approachable. I'm finding it approachable as a new player, and the games are like, at least in this mode, Road to the Show, it's like it only plays the moments where like you're up to bat or I'm playing the catcher position. So if like someone's stealing second base, they're like, all right, try to throw them out. So you're only playing those moments. So a full baseball game lasts like 5 to 10 minutes, literally.
Oh, wow.
That's it. So you're working through the schedule pretty quickly. So if you play for an hour, you're going to knock out like 6-7 games or something like that. So having a lot of fun. It's kind of that mode is like, it's like baseball RPG. You're like slowly building your stat. Your speed is building up, and your power and your contact. All these little stats are like slowly inching up after every game.
Someone Bahamut at the end of a game to destroy the other team, right?
Super good. Yeah, you got to get Ultima and just wipe them out, man. Having a blast with MLB The Show 22. Yeah, it's a good one.
Man, I hope we just created a Final Fantasy baseball game because we need that. If Nintendo is going to keep giving us these somewhat mediocre sports games, Square Enix can give us a couple Final Fantasy games.
Dude, that would actually be legit. Like, the roster is like fleshed out with like Squall from Final Fantasy VIII and all these past protagonists and villains and stuff. Oh, that'd be super good idea.
It'd be pretty cool.
Square Enix, take note.
Noctis does that thing where he throws a sword in the air and he catches the ball as he teleports up.
100%. Yeah.
It'd be so cool. We probably shouldn't speak that into existence because It might go the way of the
I
Kingdom
would
Hearts.
play that all the way, man. Yes.
Fair enough. Well, as far as what I've been playing then, last week I went on vacation with my wife celebrating 10 years together.
Congratulations.
I know. Thank you, man. It's awesome. We still kind of have that thing where we look at each other like, we've been married for over 10 years. How do they fly by so fast? It's wild. But even the week before that, as school was ending, and just last week too, I found myself not really wanting to play a whole lot of like console games, but I found myself looking at my iPad and going, okay, I've been paying for Apple Arcade. Let me take a look at this and see what's in here, see if there's anything that strikes my fancy. And I saw that Mini Motorways was in there, and I was like, sweet, I don't have to buy this for my Switch now, so I'll download it. And I've literally been playing it for the last like 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm hooked, man. This game is so stinking good.
Dude, so I've only seen screenshots that you've posted. I don't know anything about this game, but the screenshots you're posting, I'm like, this looks like, what is this? I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So you basically start, you pick a city. There's like, I think 15 or so cities in the game that you can pick. And then you go through each one. After you hit a set score limit, it'll unlock the next one. You just keep going, rinse, repeat. But as you go in, you'll get, let's say you start off with Los Angeles. So you drop in, the landscape is randomly generated each time you go in. So it's never the same. And you'll get dropped in, let's say, to Los Angeles, like I said, and you'll get a house and a shop or something, like a building.
Okay.
And so you have to build a road from that house to that shop, and that's how you start off. Then the cars start going out, starts making trips. They collect these little icons that the buildings put up, go back to the house, rinse, repeat. And as time goes by, it goes through a full week. It resets on Sunday where the time stops, the game freezes, and you can choose between 2 different upgrades. You can get more roads, you can get roundabouts, you can get motorways to kind of get houses or housing complexes that are on this one side of the map, get them over to this other shop area real quickly. They don't have to go through any traffic. Traffic lights, there's so many different things you can get, bridges, tunnels, all that stuff. And so what you do is you continue through each week. You have to continue to connect the houses to the color coordinated shops on the map, and the map continues to zoom out further and further each week, and so it just gets bigger and bigger and more chaotic. And so you have to just kind of manage everything and make sure that traffic's flowing smoothly, delete roads and then repave them, redo them however you want, and all that stuff, which sounds kind of boring, but trust me, if you have an iPad or if you're on Steam, Switch, pick this game up. It
sounds
really
hectic,
good.
But is it chill? It sounds like a chill game.
So it is chill. You can actually, as you're playing through the game, you can actually pause the game so you can look at the map and be like, okay, I need to plan this a little bit better. Maybe I'll move this motorway over here and move some of these houses around this way. Or you can fast forward it to just get through the earlier parts, the early couple weeks of the game, because it's kind of slow during that.
Okay.
But you can pause and do whatever. And I found it to be really chill. The music's great. The aesthetic is nice. The colors are great. You can set it to like night mode too if you're playing at night. So it'll just it'll keep the same characteristics of the city you're in, but it'll just darken everything.
Okay.
And so you got daily challenges, weekly challenges. As you reach over 1,000 points in each level, you unlock challenges for that particular city. So you can try and challenge yourself a little bit. There's a lot to this game. I've probably put, I don't want to say over 10 hours into the game, but I've definitely put over 10 hours into the game. It's really good. And plus, if I'm sitting in the living room like I was earlier with my wife, we're just sitting there talking and she's watching a show, I can pull up my iPad, play it right there, and it's good to go. It's excellent. It's really good. I dogged on mobile games so much on this podcast that now I'm like, crap, I'm going to have to like rescind a lot of that because there's still some good games.
No, I love it. I love the different flavor and trying different things. But you said it was Apple Arcade and Switch, though?
Apple Arcade, Switch, and Steam.
Excellent.
But yeah, I think it's only $10 on Steam and Switch. And then if you have Apple Arcade, of course, it comes with your subscription. And then if you don't have it, I'm not sure what it is because I have Apple Arcade. But yeah, really, really good game. If you're looking for something chill to play, give it a go and see what you think. I'll talk about 2 more games real quick. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this one because I've sung the praises of Fury enough as it is. I love that game. It got a PS5 update here recently. Runs buttery smooth, looks great, still plays great. There's a little bit of screen tearing I'm noticing more in this version, but I'm sure they'll patch that. It doesn't really mess up the game, and it's still that game where you have to be, you have to be very aware. You have to be paying attention to what the enemies are doing, and then be able to counter them when they come after you. And it's really good. I have gotten to the point now where I've beaten the game already. I did the evil ending so I can get that out of the way. Right. And then I'm trying to do the good ending, which is the harder way of beating the game.
All right.
But I think I've decided I want to platinum this game. It's the one platinum on my PS4 that got away. I never got around to it. And I think I had 4 trophies left.
All right.
And
I've never played Fury at one bit, but I've always kind of admired it from afar. I don't know if I'll ever dip my toes because it does sound difficult. Not that like is, deterring, but I don't know if I'll play this one or not, but it sounds intriguing for sure. I like hearing you talk about it.
If you like those games that have like a kind of like a high skill requirement, you'll like. I will say this: if you liked Sekiro at all, give Fury a try because it's kind of similar in the combat. If you didn't like Sekiro, don't play Fury.
I'm out.
Yeah, you want to have the patience for it. But yeah, there's that. Now, I do want to also. Last thing I'll talk about is a game that me and my wife played together. Next to Many Motorways, we played It Takes Two together. And we finally finished the game today, and we both got the platinum trophy for it. So
beautiful!
It's a good time. It's my wife's first platinum trophy, so I was like, "Oh yeah, finally got you started on this journey. Now you can play this and this." And she's like, "No, I just want one and I'm done." But no, we both really enjoyed it. I was thinking I was never going to get to really kind of finish this game because we had started it like a year, I think last year, and we just kind of got away from it. Like we'll never finish it. And now the summer's here, I was like, "Hey, why don't we finish It Takes Two?" And then we finished it, and I'm like, "Man, this game." I get why everybody was praising this game. It is really, really good.
It is such a delight, man. I have one complaint, and actually, this is one game that go over to YouTube at the Reform Gamers, and we've got a video review of this one out there.
Oh yeah,
that I did when it came out. This game is just a delight, but one of the only things I would fuss at it is the language in it is like, whoa, where is this coming out of left field?
Yeah.
It really kind of eliminates that ability to play with one of your younger kids, because it's got some pretty harsh language. Other than that, man, it's just so refreshing. Every 10 minutes, you're doing something completely different than when you were 10 minutes prior. And every idea, they toss probably 60, 70, 80, 90 different kind of micro gameplay ideas at you. And like 90% of them are like super fun and engaging. It's really an excellent game.
That's something I loved about it that I wasn't expecting was that each area you go to, there's these mini games that they put in there, whether it's chess, laser wave or something like that, or there's a lot of different games you can play that breaks up the gameplay, but there's also like Easter eggs that are hidden through there from the previous games that they've done, like A Way Out. There's like even these little, like in the villages and stuff, there's these little like boats or characters that you can interact with. You can get into a snowball fight in one other one. Me and my wife probably spent 10 to 20 minutes just throwing snowballs at each other in one arena. And I was just like, this is so cool that like, you don't have to keep playing the main game. You can get sidetracked by all these things and they're genuinely fun.
Oh man, that last level, I think the one with the snowballs, that snowy level, I think you can just like ice skate around on a like a frozen lake. Just ice skate. It's like, oh, this just feels great. Just ice skating around. Everything is so well crafted and well thought out. Yeah. And shout out to Joseph Ferris, that crazy director who was behind that game. People talk about EA, that's the publisher of the game and kind of the trouble, that they're in. Not trouble, but they just kind of are struggling with, Anthem and Battlefield and all these misses. And Hazelight Studio that made It Takes Two, that's their best studio that they have right now. It is. Like, I know they're kind of a smaller thing, but they're going to beef up that studio a little bit, I would imagine. Yeah. And I'm very excited about what they produce next.
Yeah, for sure. It's even got, after we finished this, I was like, man, I never did play A Way Out, so we might go and play that too. But with the Quarry coming out this weekend, I'm like,
yeah,
we might wait a little bit longer to play A Way Out because we've got to get to the Quarry first.
Yeah, I've played A Way Out. It's good, but it's not as good as it takes.
Oh, really?
So definitely try it, but pick it up on a sale, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, I bought it like a long time ago. I can't remember.
Oh, that's right.
But
okay.
It's just sitting in my library. I've got that massive. I don't call it a backlog anymore. I call it a library.
There you go. Bingo.
But yeah, it's really good. So I mean, with that caveat of be aware of the language. But if any of you listening that are wanting to play a game with your spouse or maybe a friend or something, definitely looking at It Takes Two if you haven't played it already. It is surprising. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it is. But by the time I finished, I was like, man, this is really good. And my wife looked at me. She's like, "Are you crying?" And I'm like, "No." So with that being said, let's get into the mailbag episode here of the show. As always, I can't talk. This is bad. We're getting to the topic and I'm already fumbling over the words, man. Reminder to rate and review the show. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, all that jazz. You know what you're doing. It's 2022. Everyone knows how the internet works now. But for this episode, I was like, you know what would be really fun is if I put it on Patreon, because if you support us on patreon.com, you get access to the Patreon feed over there, you get access to write-ins and all that jazz. I was like, why don't we do a mailbag episode? You know, Mike is on the show. His first episode was the last episode. Let's get him on here and kind of pick his brain a little bit more and put him on the hot seat a little bit, but I'll join him too. So I guess it's a hot bench is what we're on. So a lot of folks wrote in, and I want to say this first and foremost. Thank you all to those of you that wrote in. Mm-hmm. Second of all, I do want to point out that I was not expecting y'all to like list specific games to talk about, but I am going to store those, and we'll put those in the back pocket of future ideas for the show, and consider how we can weave those in, when we can weave those in, and different things like that. So if you are listening and you wrote in on Patreon, you're like, wait a minute, they didn't talk about Greedfall. It's like, we have to do a whole episode on it. We can't just do a mailbag.
A lot of good write-ins. A lot of good write-ins from the patrons. Yeah, shout out to them. They really came out and brought it this time. So yeah.
So I've got them here on the docket here. We don't have to go in any specific order, but I do kind of want to go over. Let's start this one here. A little bit of a softball. Let's start with Cassie first, who writes in and says, what games are we most excited for in 2022? Now, I know I kind of mentioned, we talked about that a little bit last episode, but maybe with the state of play coming or showing us some games, maybe our answers have changed a little bit. I know I'm still excited for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but Micah, what about you?
Yeah, if it sticks, it's got to be God of War Ragnarok. I know there's kind of a lot of will it, won't it still land in 2022 going on right now. But if that lands, that's at the tippy top of the list, no doubt. Another one that I semi recently, within the past like 8 months or so, I think, played the original. But man, I'm really looking forward to a Plague Tale Requiem, which is supposed to come out this year. Really enjoyed the first Plague Tale. Great narrative story. So I'm looking forward to that one. Mentioned Callisto Protocol, earlier in the state of play. I'm excited about that one, and Stray as well. That cat game I'm looking forward to. So yeah, I think we'll know a lot more. We'll have the Xbox Bethesda Showcase and Summer Games Fest by the time this hits public feeds. We don't know anything about it right now. But hopefully we'll have a lot of stuff to get excited about here in a little while. But there's still a lot for 2022, even with things like Starfield pushed out. There's a lot to look forward to still.
Yeah, definitely. I'll throw two more games that jumped high up on my priority list here recently. And the first one being The Quarry, which is one I'd forgotten was even coming out this year. But coming from the studio that did Until Dawn, that was one of my wife and I's favorite games to play and stream over on Twitch. And I don't think we're going to stream The Quarry because I'd have to move the PlayStation from where it's at now to where I'm at recording now, and I don't want to do that. It's too much work. But we're definitely going to play it over the weekend. I'm very excited to play that. Playing It Takes Two with my wife, I'm like, this is a lot of fun to play games with my wife. So super excited to play The Quarry. And the second one, people are going to make fun of me for saying I'm super excited for this, but I saw the trailer for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and I'm like, okay, it looks like we're bringing the old crew back. You got Metallica playing as the music. A lot of things exploding.
Casual.
Oh, I know.
Playing Call of Duty.
I'm not going to play the multiplayer. Ain't nobody got time for that. But I'll play the story mode a couple times because that's all I play Call of Duty for. And
Call of Duty campaigns are awesome. Yeah, I haven't played one in quite some time, but they are so much fun. Yeah.
And the previous Modern Warfare one was a lot of fun too. So I'm excited to kind of have that revisioning of the Modern Warfare story in this one. So it looks good. I was surprised. I was like, all right, guess I'm getting Call of Duty this
Yeah.
year. So I'm excited for that. As always, dear listeners and patrons as well, let us know what games you're most excited for on the social media feeds, Discord, all that stuff, and let us talk with you a little bit. Now, let's go. We'll come back to Cassie's second question here in a little bit. But Paige Penson writes in. First of all, Paige and Cassie, thank you again for writing in. Paige gave us a couple of games to think through doing episodes on. I'll list what some of those are, or all of them, because she only listed, like, I think 4 here. Greedfall, which is a game that I have, but I haven't played it yet. I've heard good things about it. Dragon's Dogma, which is one that I'm pretty sure Jesse Knopp continues to be like, dude, you got to play this along with Elix. And it's like, okay, man, just chill a little bit. Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy 14 online / game communities, which I think that would be a good topic. So we'll get to those at some point. But the question we can talk about now is, should Christians play romance storylines in games? I feel like I'm over here. I'm like, well, I played Persona, and we've done that. It's like I played Mass Effect where there's romance storylines. Me personally, I don't have a problem with them. So I'm going to leave it there. I'll elaborate a little bit more, but Michael, let me get your thoughts on that.
Sure. Yeah. I think I'm right there with you. I don't generally, surface level, have a problem with it. I think that, it's a wide spectrum of what different games, how they handle relationships and romantic relationships in particular. So there are some games where, it can be pretty innocent and whatever. And there are some games where, depending on what you choose, it leads to a certain scene that maybe Christians shouldn't watch.
Yeah.
So you got to be cautious about, kind of what you're getting into, and know, like, well, how does this game handle relationships and those sorts of things? And be wise and informed about that. And while, if it's sort of just the general, like, is it okay for a Christian to engage in, like, a fictitious video game romance? I think that's fine. It's fiction. I think, if you're going to get into that realm, let's just go ahead and, like, well, why are we shooting people in games? Why are we doing anything bad?
Exactly.
Why are we stealing in games or anything else? So
exactly.
I think you can. I think Christians should be cautious about certain, especially mature games that have romantic relationships, and just being informed about what goes down and that sort of stuff. But I think Christians in general can engage in romantic stories in games.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on there. I mean, I've been reading Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive books, the book in the Cosmere universe, and he has written in a lot of, relationships and things like that that people are engaging in. It hasn't been anything scandalous, of course, which I really appreciate about Sanderson's writing. It's not George R.R. Martin, PTL for that.
Yeah,
he still manages to write a just incredibly good story, really eclectic cast of characters that are all compelling, and he keeps it clean, which is good.
Yeah.
I even finished his book Warbreaker recently. And that one is probably his most romancy book so far, but it was pretty tame, it was fine. I didn't really have an issue with it. But there's a lot of, like, romance between the different characters going on. And I'm like, this is getting me more engaged with the characters and getting me more, like, invested in them, because I want them to protect each other, despite everything kind of falling apart, which, no spoilers. If you want to read Warbreaker for yourself, go do that. But I think if a game handles it really well, it can really add to the story and show some really good character depth and development through that. But again, it all kind of begs the question of, like, okay, where is this going exactly? Something I liked about the Persona games is they keep it pretty clean. But games like Mass Effect, it's like, when I was younger, I didn't really have a problem. It's like, whatever. It's like, look at this is cool at the end. But now I'm like, this is kind of cringe, man. I don't want to see these scenes, man. This is a little weird. And so I think it really just depends on that. I think another thing is kind of where you're at, like, your reasoning behind getting into these things. Because if you're doing it with, like, lustful intent, which is kind of hard to describe, but, like, if you're getting into it for those reasons, it's like, you probably shouldn't engage with this.
Just check your conscience, man. I mean, like, if you feel some type of way about it, then don't engage with it. If you feel like you're on the fence or you're unsure, then just don't. There's tons, especially this day and age, there's tons of other games you can play. I don't want to, paint anyone in a box or whatever, but yeah, there's options out there. So yeah, just be mindful.
Yeah. Look, if you're feeling tempted by a game, just play Mini Motorways. You can't be tempted by that. You're just building
100%.
roads, building centers, roundabouts, all sorts of fun stuff. It sounds stupid, I realize that, but that game is so good.
I love roundabouts in real life. We need to have more of those in America.
They're so handy. They're so handy, man. I'm going to be talking about mini motorways all summer, man. I'm going to give you all that heads up. Korodaki wrote one in and asked, did we ever do an episode on Jedi Fallen Order? And you know what? We never did. I know we talked about the game a lot, but I don't think we ever did an episode on Jedi Fallen Order. It would be a good
one to do one on. I think it's very rich in narrative, and especially if you're into the Star Wars universe, it's got a lot to offer. Yeah. It gets a lot of traction. I feel like in like the Facebook group and places like on Discord and stuff like that. I feel like it still has conversation, and obviously with the sequel recently being announced, it's kind of back in the zeitgeist. But yeah, haven't done an episode on it.
Yeah. So I mean, Korodaki, that might be coming up, especially since Star Wars is kind of the hot thing right now with Obi-Wan Kenobi being out, and you got, I don't know what else they're doing. I know they're doing Mandalorian still, Book of Boba Fett. I know they're doing something else. I can't remember what it was called, but I'm losing it. But yeah, I mean, Ahsoka. That's another one that they're working on. So Star Wars is hot. So I mean, we'll probably get to it eventually. I do have the PS5 upgrade version sitting on my PlayStation library. It's not downloaded. And I've been meaning to get back into it because I kind of want to play it again. That game was really good. So we might do one at some point. 2022. Like I said, it's the year that TRG gets their crap together, and we're doing episodes we should have done. Might be coming a little bit sooner than you think. Where was that other question at? So
he was asking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, he mentioned here. So if not that, which we didn't do an episode on, I think it'd be really interesting to see what y'all would like to see in future Star Wars games, or maybe something with other franchises too. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit. Micah, is there anything that you'd like to see in a future Star Wars game, or as he mentioned here, other franchises too?
Yeah, a couple of things. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I am soaking up every bit of Book of Boba Fett and all these shows that are coming out. I'm up to speed on Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm loving Star Wars right now. I think it's in a great spot, contrary to a lot of fans' opinions. But it really, and so with that said, kind of let you know what kind of Star Wars fan I am. With that said, we as gamers have never been starving for Star Wars games. There's always been Star Wars games. Now, they've not always been the best, but we've always had them. Right. So when you look at history, going all the way back to like, NES, SNES, even before arcades, there's been Star Wars games that have been popular and good and all this stuff. A lot of genres covered. So, it's kind of, we're eating good as Star Wars fans. But with that said, one of my very favorite Star Wars anything is the cartoon Star Wars Rebels. That show, Dave Filoni, who's currently helming a lot of the series that are coming on Disney Plus now, he created that series, and a lot of what happened in that show is now playing out in these other shows like Ahsoka and the Mandalorian and so on. So there's a lot of great lore there, man. I would love for them to just make a Rebels game in that same art style. With the Rebels crew, with Ezra and Sabine and Hera and Zeb and all those guys. And like, you can have different missions, all with playing different characters. I think that'd be super cool. I had a different note written down. Well, it was just that, there's a rumor that The Mandalorian is real. Like, that's a video game. So that would be cool. I don't know if that's actually going to come to fruition, but a Mandalorian game would be sick too, I think. Yeah.
I know for me, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. Like, I appreciate it. And, I've watched the movies. I've enjoyed them. I've even enjoyed the prequels. I don't care what anybody says. I watched Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith when I was growing up. And I'm like, man, these movies are dope. I love Jar Jar Binks. Y'all can at me, whatever. I don't care. Jar Jar Binks is one of my favorite characters. The dude is cool. We know he's a Sith Lord. Hey, there you go. There's a game idea right there. Let's get a Jar Jar Binks as a Sith Lord video game, and just make that happen. No, I was super stoked when we got a Star Wars Squadrons game last year or 2 years ago, whenever it was when it released, and I enjoyed playing that. But man, I had a hard time playing it. I don't know what it was like. I just had a hard time flying the ships and stuff. It was still fun. I saw it a blast, but to me, it didn't quite feel like the old Rogue Squadron games on the GameCube and N64 that we had. And I would maybe like a game that would maybe go back to those kind of roots, where, and this is hard to really talk about because Squadrons kind of does some of those similar things, but I don't know. I guess maybe a more simplistic one for some of our more, I can't even call myself a baby gamer because I've platinum Elden Ring and played Sekiro and platinum that. So I don't know, maybe something a little bit easier, I guess, but maybe it's just because I didn't spend enough time with Squadrons to really get a handle on the controls and all that. And so I just need to spend more time with it. I know for sure what I would love is a new pod racing game. We got that remaster or whatever, however many months ago. I would love just a full on new one. Maybe some new pod racing designs, maybe some new drivers, like, I don't know. And really, if you want to, you can make it totally bonkers and make it like a Mario Kart sort of thing. But I feel like that would kind of mess with the
they could really make it a kind of a modern sort of like a Wipeout, F-Zero kind of thing as far as like graphic fidelity. In that Star Wars pod racer kind of style. I love racing games just in general, so that would get me for sure.
Now, Micah, do you know, have we ever gotten like a Star Wars real-time strategy game?
I am sure we have, but that is not a genre that I dabble in, so I wouldn't know for sure. I can't, nothing's coming to mind, but I'd be shocked. I'm sure people are screaming at their right now, like, dude, it's this. I think there probably has, but I don't know for sure. I have to check that.
I mean, I was thinking like that would be cool to have because I mean, even if something took place during the Clone Wars or even in between episodes 6 and 7, I mean, you could really do it on so many different things, and I think that would be kind of cool to just play through. I'm not a huge RTS fan. I tend to play it on easy mode.
Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds in 2001. Does this ring a bell?
Galactic Battle. Let me pull up the. You guys are gonna hear the clicky clacks on my computer.
That might be something I'm just Googling, so I don't know for sure.
Oh no, yeah, that was, and it's on Steam, and it came out in 2001 on Steam. $5.99. Dude, I think I just found my game. Never mind.
This is what I'm saying. Like they've covered so many genres already over the course of history. I feel like there's always been good Star Wars games out here.
Oh my gosh, you get to play as the Gungans? Dude, I'm downloading this after we finish recording.
Holy moly, Logan. What have we done?
I'm going to be terrible at this, and this looks really old and dated, but
who cares?
$6? Come on, give it to
Add it to the library.
As far as like something we'd like to see with other franchises, I mean, the only thing I'd really like to see is Titanfall 3, to be honest with you, or even like because I mean, they're expanding that universe and the lore with Apex Legends, like delve into that a little bit, do some like a stealth game with I'm forgetting the character's name from Apex, that Revenant. You could do a stealth game with that, similar to Hitman. You could do I mean, there's so many ways you could branch out with that. I mean, I would love to see that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking much about it. He says, or any other series. I wasn't really thinking about that, but now that I am, I'm not, I guess you could talk about video game series. I'm not really thinking about that. I'm thinking of something that's not a video game, at least I don't believe. Something like Johnny Quest, I feel like would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
There's never been a Johnny Quest game. I feel like that's ripe for adventure and fun. And, you got Race and his dad and Haji and Bandit and all the characters and stuff that could really be kind of like almost like an Uncharted style, over the shoulder kind of adventure. That something like that would be cool, in my opinion.
That'd be really cool. Well, as always, dear listeners, dear patrons, you let us know some of your thoughts on these as well. But let's continue going through our docket here. John Hannon asks, let me actually pull it from Patreon because I just kind of, what's the word? When you condense stuff?
Paraphrased
it. There you go. He writes in and says, obviously it's important that people in general find a balance between hobbies, community, work, etc. I wonder if you guys, especially as married men and believers, would share any suggestions or tips you have on finding and maintaining that balance when games often want players to invest hours upon hours at a time. Micah, you got any tips for that,
Yeah,
man?
man, this is a big one. First of all, there is no one size fits all for anybody.
Yeah.
Everyone's home dynamic is different. Everyone's job schedule is different. Everyone's game tastes are different.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just speak for myself, which is, as I've gotten older, I've got 3 kids. As I've gotten older, the game time has reduced. I can see, like there's like PlayStation and Nintendo, they track your time and like your
Yeah.
trophies and all these sorts of things. I can see my game times like going down year over year kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of coming with life. It's like something that's I'm just kind of like naturally accepting. Well, first and foremost, my wife Emily is absolutely fantastic and generous with allowing me to game at a pretty liberal rate when it comes to my free time or time that
Mm-hmm.
I could be spending with her or something
Yeah.
like that. She's extremely gracious, and I get that not everyone's spouse is going to be like that.
Yeah.
So that's first and foremost. You have to put obviously God first, and there's other part, but
Right.
like your spouse is number one priority. Like you've got to take care of that relationship. If you got to say no to games for a week or a month or whatever, you're like, sure, do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not even a question. So take care of that business. I'm in a fortunate spot to where we have time to spend together, and she doesn't feel like we have to always hang out all the time every night or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm really blessed in that department. Other than that, because how do you and like I said, there's jobs, we're all busy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of all about especially when it comes to hobby time and free time. I just prioritize games. Like when it comes
Yeah.
to like my free time, like I know Logan, you've been a real big lately on like diversify your hobbies and stuff, and that's
Yeah.
all great. But I
Yeah.
mean, if you're talking about, and the question is, how do you tackle these long games? You got to prioritize it in your free time if you have
Yeah.
some, if you're going to do that. So if you want to go beat Elden Ring, in a timely manner, then that's what but the main point though is, like I was saying at the beginning, you got to just accept like, well, no, it's going to take me 6 months to beat Elden Ring, and that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
That you got to say that's fine.
Yeah.
I in particular, I love excuse me, I love being in the zeitgeist. I love getting games on day one. I love being able to talk about those sorts of things, and kind of like going from game to game really quickly. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
having to learn like, no, I just need to. I'm gonna have to sit in this game because I can't afford another game potentially,
Yeah.
or I've got a big backlog, or I just don't have as much time. So I can only really play 3 or 4 big quote unquote games, like a Uncharted size game or something like
Right.
that,
Right.
a year potentially. Um, and like you got to be okay with that. Again,
Yeah.
priorities. It's video games.
Yeah.
If you can't play video games, it's not the end of the world. Now it's obviously it's a hobby that we all love and um want to spend time with, but you got to have your priorities straight. So
Yeah.
how do you find time? I mean, you have to make it.
Yeah.
You got to make sure your priorities are straight, but um, be okay with just it's going to take me all year to finish this 60-hour game. You got to
Mm-hmm.
be okay with that kind of stuff at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I know for me, especially as I've been getting into this new season of life where I'm, transitioning to, well, not transitioning, I am a teacher now, but, at the start of it, I was transitioning in and I was like, okay, my schedule looks different. Here's how it looks. I'm still working on my certification to be a teacher. And so I've got this X amount of free time in my evenings. What am I going to fill it with? What am I going to be spending it doing? And as I was going through that process, I'm like, yeah, I can't really fit games like Destiny or No Man's Sky in here anymore because
Yeah.
those games you really have to put a lot. And that's kind of what came to my mind as I was reading this question. There was that games like Destiny, No Man's Sky, those kind of games, they really ask a lot of you. And I'm like, I don't have the time or the patience really to put into this game to really make it anywhere meaningful in it when I could put that time and slowly chip away at another game and finish that and then move on to the next one. And so for me, I personally don't play games like Destiny or Final Fantasy 14 or No Man's Sky anymore. Destiny actually made it super easy for me here recently with when that whole leaked, not even passed thing with about abortion passing, and then Bungie was like, "Yeah, we're all for abortion," or I'm just like, okay, well, thank you for alienating half of your fan base here. That's kind of a weird thing to do, and I was already kind of not playing your game a whole lot as is. You just made it easy for me. And No Man's Sky is like, this is another thing I'm learning. I don't like resource management in games that are that complex and that in depth. So I cut it out. And so, yeah, games like that require you to spend so much time in it to make any meaningful progress, I just don't play it anymore because that's not what I want to do. I want to fill my time doing other things like building model Gundams, which has been an awesome hobby to get into. And it's allowed me to meet some new people and talk to some of my coworkers, and even reading now as heavily as I am now, it's allowed me to talk to some people at my church who are, heavy readers. And so I've just found that when I play the games that fit my schedule better to where it can accommodate my other hobbies that I'm enjoying, I just have a way better time interacting with other people. And I just have 100%. A way better time just enjoying my own free time.
Yeah.
And so, like you mentioned, I'm a big diversifier hobbies thing. Cause I'm doing like reading, I'm doing anime, I'm doing Gundam building, it's like, and now I'll be picking up walking, kind of working out a little bit here soon. It's like, yeah, just, you don't got to fill your whole entire free time with gaming. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. I'm not going to knock you for it, but me personally, it's just, I don't mess with those games that really want to suck your time. And because I want to enjoy the free time I have and do a lot of different things in that time I have.
Yeah, I'll echo that just real quick, and we can move on to the next question. Live service games, man, that's just a time suck, man. I can't do them as well. Like, not knocking you if you love Destiny or any other, Overwatch or whatever the case. Fortnite, knock yourself out.
Yeah,
that's just not for me. I like to play a bunch of different games, get a bunch of different experiences, throughout the year, indie games, 5-hour games, whatever the case. And I like to experience new things. So, kind of just grinding away, for, half your gaming time for a year on a live service game, it just isn't my style anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't like that you can't pause those games either, because now it's like, man, I was like, I gotta help my wife out, but I can't pause this game. We're in the middle of a
live game.
I like it. You know what you can pause though? Mini motorways. Great
Excellent
stuff. You guys should go check it out. John also asked in his follow-up question here. This would be a better question about abandonware for Matt Millsap, so we'll have to get him back on the show. Mike, I don't know if you had any thoughts about that or.
Let's come back on that one. I don't have a ton of thoughts on it. I asked for a clarification on the Patreon post, I remember, but yeah, I don't have a ton of thoughts.
Fair enough. John's second question that he threw at us, in case we couldn't get into abandonware, what retro game would we choose to get a modern sequel and why?
Yeah, this one's tough, man. I'm trying to find my notes. Where did I write that one down at? Oh, here we go. And retro, when I think really retro, like Atari, NES, that era, it's hard to think of something that's like, yeah, just bring this over and it'll be good and modern. Like, I need to think of something slightly more modern than that, like PS1 and 64 era is kind of where my brain like settles in on. So what came to mind for me is, and this isn't one that I think a lot of people have been clamoring for this, is a new Soul Reaver, Legacy of Kain. Game. Amy Hennig was one of the main writers for that game. She's the creator of Uncharted and is currently working on a new Star Wars game. Actually,
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. She worked on that game. She was heavy.
I didn't know that.
I think one of the main writers of Soul Reaver.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So getting a new, I guess, Legacy of Kain anything, but specifically Soul Reaver, which was a lot different than Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, which was the original game.
Yeah.
I would love that. And then a quick second is, I don't know how many people know this game. It's probably more popular than I think it is, but this was, in my opinion, during Squaresoft's heyday of PS1. They were hitting like, of course, the Final Fantasy games, but then games like Einhander, the 2D shmup, games like Xenogears, and then they had Brave Fencer Musashi, which was this really charming RPG, like RPG light. This really kind of a sassy, that's a terrible adjective, protagonist.
Yeah.
It kind of he just kind of had a bit of an attitude. It came out in the 90s.
It's kind of like Sonic with that same attitude, with the look and everything, and how
Maybe,
he stands.
but man, I loved this game. Getting a modern kind of this lighthearted JRPG, like you can like collect action figures in the game and stuff as like a mini sub game. It's so fun. Great, just kind of funny and just kind of delightful dialogue and story and stuff. I remember having a lot of fond memories with Brave Fencer Musashi. That's kind of a random pull, but I would love Square to revisit that one.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Man, taking me back. This is one game I'm confident not many people know about. I'm probably one of the like 20 people who actually played this game on the GameCube. But I would love to get a sequel, and it might even have to be like a reboot sort of thing for a game that was on the GameCube called Custom Robo, where this game, and some people may be listening like, wait a minute, that does sound familiar. This was a game where you would start off and you would essentially get to build your own robot and then pit it against other robots in a fighting arena sort of thing, and you get power-ups, you get buffs and things like that, you can get traps and all that. And it was a game that at the time I enjoyed playing it. I was not good at it. The game was kind of hard, but I would love to get a sequel for that. And I think part of that stems from the fact of, me getting into building model Gundams now. I'd love to kind of have a game where I get to do that. I've looked at some of the Gundam games that allow you to do that, and they haven't really gotten very good reviews. So I would love a sequel to Custom Robo. And the cool thing about that is that in today's climate of gaming, that's so open to doing like partnership type things with the games. Like you see this with Tales, how they did a sort of art online one with Tales of Arise. And then you had, what is it? Machina. What was that robot game on the Switch? It's not Deus Machina. It's Ex Machina. Is that what it was?
Robot game on the Switch. Oh,
I know it's on. I'm gonna
talking
look
about the police.
Steam.
No.
No.
Oh, crud. Oh, what is it? I think I know what you're talking about.
Ex Machina. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That game was ridiculously good. The story didn't make a lick of sense at all, but the game was a lot of fun to play. And I would like to see something like that with Custom Robo, to where they would do a partnership with like Gundam or Ultraman or Power, and you get to like take some of those items, put them on your robot, put it in a fight, and then go. You could even make it a story similar to the old school anime Metabots, where you're going through a tournament type thing. I mean, I think Custom Robo actually was a tournament.
Logan, you're right. I'm looking at my Google machine right now, and I have never heard of Custom Robo.
Yeah, it was one of those games, man. I saw it in Nintendo Power, and I was like, "Oh, this looks so cool!" And I picked it up at Walmart, and then, like I said,
it does look cool.
Probably one of the few people who actually have played the game. But I would love to see a sequel to that game.
And judging from the screenshots, I don't know anything about the gameplay. It looks like it would translate to a modern game style really well. Kind of like Splatoon, maybe. I don't know.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, dude! If they could do a partner, this was a Nintendo exclusive, right? Nintendo, yep, only on GameCube.
Who could even do that? Who made this game?
I have no idea. I wasn't paying attention to that stuff back then. But yeah, it was a really cool game. If any of you dear listeners are curious, go look this game up. Really, really cool game. I think it had a map editor in there. I'm looking. Oh, there was a party mode. I don't know. I'm doing all this stuff live when I probably shouldn't be. But yeah, check it out. Custom Robo, really cool game. I really enjoyed it. No one's probably ever heard of it until now, but I would love to see a sequel.
Very cool
to that game there. Moving along here, going back to Cassie's second question he had. He's kind of sticking it with I know this isn't retro, but sort of retro. He asked, what 3 modern games would we show our younger selves? Oh man,
the possibilities.
Let's set a time frame for this, because you could go anywhere with this to showing like you as a toddler, you as a teenager. I'd probably the 3 games I'm going to pick. I'd probably show like teenage Logan.
I think I agree. Games. I would show 14-year-old me. These games I'm about to mention.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll just go right into them.
Yeah, go for it.
So a bit of context. Again, I'm 39 years old. So when I was 14, it was like PS1 era.
Okay.
That's when I was playing it. Like Metal Gear Solid was highly influential because of my age and when it came out and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I think, and you already mentioned it already. I've got 3 games I want to mention, kind of for different reasons. The first one is No Man's Sky. I would show them No Man's Sky.
Interesting.
Because that, oh gosh, I'm brain farting on the word. How are all the worlds created? What's the process that it's called?
It's a
you know what I'm saying?
procedurally
generated
yeah.
worlds. That would have blown my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, like quote unquote infinite number of planets and solar systems and all this stuff. And then just seeing, obviously the graphics would be pretty and everything compared to 1997, 98. So yeah, No Man's Sky is one. Not that it's like necessarily the best example of that. It's just like a good contemporary one. That a lot of people know. I would show them just kind of like the basic. I just picked this one because it's one of the newest ones. Like whatever, like kind of the new hotness is, like graphically, just kind of like this is pushing the envelope or whatever in different ways. I would show them a Horizon Forbidden West.
Okay,
like, look at this. Like look at video games right now. Like look at this. Like you can do this and you can glide and you can bow and arrow and all the crafting and look at this lush grass and how it moves when you walk through it. All that would have blown a 14-year-old Micah's mind. And then the last game I would show him from this era is Rocket League. I would be like, look, this is video games distilled like down to fun. Like, and it's also kind of like Rocket League is one of those games where like, how did no one think about this before? How did no one come up with this idea before now? Car soccer, like, wow, what a neat idea. Like how simple, but yet it just clicks. It just works. Yeah. That would have been something that you could have dreamt up in the NES era. Like, car soccer. Yeah. That'll be, and just like, it's like some 2D thing. Like you could imagine that back then, even I think, to where it just makes sense. You're like, oh yeah, Rocket League. It would just kind of click with your brain in a different kind of way. But yeah, that's a handful of games I think. If I could take them back to 20, 30 years ago, I would show younger Micah.
I'm trying to think. You mentioned like you could think of Rocket League on like NES or any of those things. And I could have swore that Rocket League had a predecessor on the PlayStation, but I can't remember the name of it, and it's not pulling up on Google for me.
It did. It's a long name. Supersonic Acrobatic Battle Cars, I think is what it's called. I'm not kidding.
Supersonic. It just pulled up right. There it is. Yeah, that's it. All right.
I think it is virtually the same game. I think, although I never played it.
Yeah, just this arena here that I'm looking right now, it looks exactly like Rocket League.
Yeah, but they just rebranded it and repackaged it, and it's a phenomenon.
It's timeless, is really what it is. It's timeless.
Yeah.
No, those are all good picks. I think what I would do for me, because I'm thinking like when I was a teenager, I was playing GameCube primarily, and then the 360. So I was old enough to play some more mature games and didn't really bother me. So I think definitely one of the games I'm trying to remember, did I get into JRPGs then? Yeah, because I was playing on 360, Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon. Okay, cool. So what I would show teenage version of me, younger version of me, is first of all, Titanfall 2. Like, dude, look at how cool this game is. Yeah. Like you're playing your time splitters and that's all great and stuff, but look at this, dude. Look at BT. Look at this Scorch mech. Look at how smooth and buttery the gameplay is. Look at how kinetic the action is. You're gonna love it. Have fun with it. Good luck with trying to beat that guy's time at the beginning of the game during the gauntlet run. But definitely show them that, because Titanfall 2 is it's still one of my favorite games. I think about it frequently. It's one of those games that lives rent free in my head. I love that game.
There's I'm sorry to interrupt. There's seminal movies I feel like that I've just never watched. Now that Top Gun Maverick is out, that's one that comes to mind. Like I've never seen the original Top Gun.
Oh wow.
I've never seen like any of the Rocky movies, for example. Like there's these seminal movies that like I've just never seen.
Yeah.
Titanfall 2 is one of those seminal games I've just never played.
Really?
And I hate it. I hate that I haven't seen Top Gun.
Wow.
Or I don't hate it, but it's like I kind of would have liked to have seen it. But it seems kind of late now. It seems kind of late to like Titanfall 2 now. I'm sure it's not.
Dude.
But that's kind of how I feel. Like I know Titanfall 2 is good. I just missed the boat on it. That's how I feel.
Dude, you've got to play it, man. At least at some point. I know
it's always
a lot of
on sale for like $5 to free. So I might even own it. I don't know.
Honestly, you probably got it through PS Plus. I know it was a PS Plus game at one point.
Maybe so. Then I probably do own it then. Gosh, I don't got much excuse then. Maybe before the end of the year, I can find some time to spin up the campaign. Because it's probably not that long, yeah.
No, especially if you just put it on easy. I mean, you can blow through it in a weekend pretty easily. It's a short one. A lot of fun, but it's really good. I would show them that. I would show them Persona 4 Golden because I think Teenage Me would get a huge kick out of that game and really, really enjoy that.
Were you into anime at the time?
I was actually. That was actually right when I was started getting into it because I was watching Toonami. So I was watching Dragon Ball Z. I was trying to watch Dragon Ball Z, but I would get like an episode here and there. I was mainly watching Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, Inuyasha, some Naruto when they put that on there, and Big O, I think is what that robot one was. Had that noir kind of style to it. So yeah, I was really getting into it at that time. So I think Persona 4 Golden would be perfect.
Yeah,
for Teenage Logan. As far as a third game goes, this is one I kind of struggle with because I'm like, I don't know what I would really show Teenage Me beyond that. I'm thinking like some of the PlayStation exclusive games, and God of War would be a good pick. Horizon would be another one. I like that you picked that one up. But I'm thinking what I would really like to do is kind of scare the crap out of Teenage Logan a little bit and show them like, hey, remember how that time you tried to play Resident Evil 2, you got all the way to the end of the sewers and the giant spiders scared you to where you took the game back to the video store and you never played it again? Play Resident Evil 2 Remake. You don't have to worry about spiders. It's more gory, but I mean, I think you'll enjoy it a lot more. You'll probably still be terrified because you're a bit of a wimp, but I think
going to blocky Resident Evil 2 PS1 graphics to Resident Evil 2 Remake, I think you'd be quite terrified.
yeah, for sure. To be honest, Teenage Logan probably couldn't handle that because that's a little too realistic looking for the time. Because back then it was like, oh, the pixelated spiders are realistic looking. I can't handle it.
I know.
Which was funny because you can counter spiders and It Takes Two, and I'm like, I hate this game. Why didn't anybody warn me about this? This is terrible, but it really wasn't that bad. I got through and I was like, okay, this is actually a pretty cool section. But no, I think that might go one of two ways. Actually, I'm going to leave it in there anyway, just because I think it'd be fun.
I was hoping maybe you would pick, like some things, a lot of things change, but some things would stay the same, and you would show them Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy. And show them how the graphics they're still the same. Still the same graphics. What?
That probably wouldn't be a bad idea because at that time, the only Final Fantasy game I had played was 13 on the 360. And I thought it was good at the time.
Good looking.
You know what? Let me put Resident Evil 2 as a reserve game and put Stranger of Paradise in there. That's actually pretty good because I bet Teenage Me with his headphones on, listening to Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory would love that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, no, that's actually a lot better. That's a better fit for angsty Teenage Logan. We're going with Stranger of Paradise. Oh my gosh, I still can't get over the beginning of that game where this character is giving this explanation of chaos to the characters. And the main character says, bull crap, and he turns away and starts blaring like Limp Bizkit style music.
Dude, I gotta come around to that game sometime too.
That game, what a game. In some ways, I'm mad at Nomura for giving it to us. The other part of me is like, you know what? No, Nomura's all right.
I'm gonna get it on sale for $10 one day.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay. So the last couple questions here, we'll end with John Harrison, who gave us a couple of them as well. Like I said, if I'm not reading your question, it's because we are going to save that for a future episode, and we'll go over those. Like Alex kind of put one in here. It's really good, taking a wider industry look at the fall lineup of games.
Yeah.
We'll do that after Xbox and Summer Game Fest and go from there. And I'll put a thread up on Patreon. For those of you that support us over there to write in on that. We'll go from there. But let's end here with John Harrison, who asks, what game or games do you wish you played on day one and why? And I'm going to immediately say Chrono Trigger because this is a game I have tried desperately to like so many times. I have a copy of the SNES. I can't talk. I have an SNES cart of the game sitting in my game room. I have it on my phone. I have it on my computer. I had it on my PS Vita, which is a terrible, terrible port. But I have tried desperately to like this game. And every single time I play it, I get 4 to 6 hours in. I'm like, I don't care. And then I quit. And I wish I liked that game. I really do.
That is a great answer. I almost wish I had to pick that one more than the one that I did. I'm of the mind of kind of like what I was just saying with Titanfall 2. Old games old. Not that they're bad. I want to play more of kind of the new and latest. So like once a game is kind of come out for you, I'm probably not going to go back to it. And like it has to have nostalgia there for me. I never played Chrono Trigger. I know that's going to upset a lot of people, but like I just missed it. I never owned an SNES growing up, so that's why. And now it's just like, yeah, I'm not going to go back to Chrono Trigger. It's going to be, it's going to feel, like not fresh at all. It's going to, so many other games have done better since then. So, it's not going to hit me the same way. Like I played Final Fantasy VI that way, and it's like, yeah, I see what people are saying, but like, this isn't hitting me like it hit everyone else back then. So yeah, that's a really good one. The one that I put is another game that I've never played, but there again, I wish I had been in that zeitgeist in the moment, and it's the original KOTOR.
That's another really good pick.
It a number of years ago, we had a very elaborate bracket style poll in the Facebook group where we all voted what the best game of all time was. And it was, I can't remember who put it together, but God bless him, man. He was really gracious with all of us.
Very diligent.
And because a lot of people were just like hate voting, like, no, my game lost, so now I'm voting against this game, all this kind of stuff.
I was one of those people.
But anyway, long story short, KOTOR won that bracket of like all these excellent games. KOTOR was considered TRG's favorite game ever. And I'm kind of looking at that and like, man, yeah, a lot of people love KOTOR. It's getting a remake coming out sometime, hopefully in the next couple of years. And I just missed the boat on that, man. And I wish I had caught that more. Like I wasn't. It was a big PC game, I wasn't playing anything on PC back then. That was BioWare's like heyday, man. That was like, that's what kind of didn't put them on the map, but that was one of their big, huge tentpole games. That made them who they are. And BioWare is just not the same company anymore. So that would be my answer. I'd want to go back and play KOTOR on day one.
Yeah. Are there any other games that you can think of that you'd want that you wish you could have played?
Not a lot, because like I've said before, like I play a lot of the games day one that I want to play. Honestly, I'm probably going to grab The Quarry this weekend, and I'll be playing that along with you. Not with you, but playing at the same time.
We can FaceTime each other, and we can comfort ourselves when we're scared.
Just sort of like freaking out. Hey, what'd you pick?
Sitting there on the phone like this, like Blair Witch, like, Mike, I'm so scared. You got like sweat dripping off my nose. Michael Scott's version of it from The Office.
Yeah. So nothing else is coming to mind, but yeah, Chrono Trigger, super good pick in my opinion, and KOTOR is mine, I think.
Right on. Well, let's move on to his other one. And this is, what I love about John Harrison?
Ooh, this is a good one. I've been waiting for this one.
John Harrison, if you're listening, man, I love you. I love how he can go from like two different styles, like interchangeably so quickly.
Yep.
So he asked that question, and then he goes from that to, I think we also need to go through an entire list of which video games would which biblical character play. Ha ha ha. But seriously. And so it's kind of going more for like more than just a name in a game. So, picking a game like Luke playing, I don't know, Age of Empires or something, not that, but themes and groups too. What would the 12 apostles play? And we can't say Among Us apparently. Although Korodaki said Jesus already knew Judas was sus. And who would you want on your squad? So let's kind of stick with that a little bit. With the themes and groups.
I slightly misread the question, or at least what you have in the notes here. What you have in the notes in front of me, it says, which game genre would the four apostles play?
Oh, yeah. I realizing that now, I really badly paraphrase.
Well, no, it's fine, because I'll just say, I'll answer this question. What game would the four apostles play? And, I think, you're thinking like, well, what would Mark play? What would Matthew play? I was thinking more of lines of like, they would all be playing together, like a multiplayer game.
Okay.
A lot of 4-player co-op, that kind of things. And, and goodness gracious, I hope people don't take this the wrong way as like blasphemous or anything. But James 1:12, talks about, being steadfast under trial and you'll get that crown of life.
Oh man.
So I think the 4 apostles will be playing Fall Guys, man, to get that crown.
Oh, okay.
They're going to be in a Fall Guys multiplayer session, all reaching for that crown.
I can see that.
That's what the apostles would be playing.
That's,
Fall Guys,
really
man,
good.
of course.
I thought you were going to go the route and say they were going to be playing, like, James was going to be playing Dark Souls or something because he's talking about being steadfast. But I can see that. I could see that. That would be pretty good.
You got to grab that crown at the end of Fall Guys. You got to get that crown. So they're chasing the crown of life. So they're playing some Fall Guys.
That's funny. I think we just made a case for Fall Guys being a Christian video game.
We might have.
To a degree. Right. To a degree. I don't know. We did do an episode on Fortnite, so maybe we'll do an episode on Fall Guys. We'll see. So when I read this, I was thinking like, okay, I'm thinking of like genres, right? Like what would the 4 apostles play like genre wise? Mm-hmm. And so I kind of was thinking like, Luke is very detail oriented. He's very like analytical. Mm-hmm. I could see Luke playing some like real-time strategies or games that have like survival games where you resource management and do all that stuff because he's into the details. I could see him really digging that. Mark would be the kind of guy that would be jumping from multiplayer game to multiplayer game to multiplayer game. So he'd be playing the Call of Duties. He'd be playing the Fortnite. He'd be playing Apex Legends.
Yeah.
And every now and then he would be playing mini motorways because he understands the value of time. He's very brief. He's very succinct.
He likes acquired taste.
Yeah, he likes to play those quicker experiences. So I'm just assuming that just based off how they wrote their Gospels. Matthew would probably be into RPGs.
Sure.
A little bit. I could see that a little bit. John would probably be into story-driven games. I'd probably say, maybe I'm getting those two mixed up, but that's kind of what I was thinking from there on those. But now that you read that line from James, now all I can think about is James would be playing the Dark Souls games.
Well, I thought kind of more surfacey about the genre. That I just figured like they'd play one of those like Bass Pro fishing games because they're all fishermen. Like that would be the one genre is the fishing genre they would play, right?
I mean some of those guys were fishermen.
So you get the tip from the Lord, like, no, go to the other side of the lake and cast your reel, and you'll get fish.
Oh man, I think let's just be honest. They would all play Legend of Zelda. It's got everything. It's got the fishing in it. It's got the sword. It's got the shield. It's got the Christian themes.
You're right.
They would just.
You're right.
I can't.
You see, like Matthew, like biblical days, Matthew, like with the the dress and stuff. Not dress, like the garb is what I'm saying. Like they're wearing, but then he's got like a fishing cap with all the lures like attached to it. Like out there on the boat on the middle of the lake.
I can't, man. I just
they gotta play the fishing genre.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm glad this question didn't, because it was funny when I read this. I was like, oh man, this is going to be like the early days of the podcast where someone asked a similar question to that. But I think someone asked us like, what Christian video game would we make? And the very first co-host, the very first Jonathan, said he would make a game like Machine Gun Preacher or something like that. And I was like, oh gosh. I can't wait to hear the write-ins for this one.
Goodness.
But no, thankfully I didn't go that route. Actually, I think Mark would probably play Doom now that I think about it because he's into the shooters, the quick play stuff, maybe some Titanfall.
Yeah, maybe so.
I'm still going. I'm just still going down that route. I can't get over the fishing thing though. I don't know why I find it as funny as I do. That's hilarious. Oh man, that's good. That is good. Oh man, let's do this too. If we were going to have a co-op partner in a game, could be Mario Kart, could be anything. Which of the 4, or really whichever apostle, disciple, whichever one would I can't talk. Which one would we want to have on our team?
I mean, certainly not Thomas. You don't want all that doubt creeping in on your session.
Yeah, no.
So he's out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe, maybe like the other James, like the not popular James. Or which one was it? The son of Alphaeus, maybe. Anyway, like one of the lesser known ones or something, be really good at games like secretly. I don't know. That's a good question. What game would I even want to play with it? Is Mario Kart's not bad.
Yeah.
Imagine playing Mario Party with any of the apostles.
That would be wild.
Like the rage quitting and stuff.
Mark would probably be the only one that rage quits. He seems like he might be the only one that might do it. Or who? Wait, no. Which one was the one that cut off that guard's ear? Who was that? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna look this up real quick.
Oh goodness, yeah. I don't remember.
I can't remember either. But
again, everyone's yelling at us.
I'll say that this is some weird ones. Peter.
Yeah,
of course, Peter. It was him. I don't know. Depending on the game, he might be good to have on the team if he's kind of impulsive. Like Apex Legends, he'd probably be good at the at getting people down. I would just pick Luke because he seems like the kind of guy that would like study a game and then be super good at it. Like, all right, I'll just let you carry me through the game. So, but yeah,
true facts.
Anyway, y'all can write us in on what y'all think.
How wrong and blasphemous we just were.
This would be. I mean, at least we didn't make a game about Shotgun Preacher or whatever that game was. And that was wild. Yeah. Did we talk about what modern game would get a sequel?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. I'm going through the list here and just making sure we cover.
I think so.
Okay. Well, cool. That brings us to the end of the write-in. So again, dear patrons, thank you again for writing in for this episode, for this mailbag episode. As always, if you support us on Patreon, you can contribute right into a lot of different episodes, contribute to a lot of different threads. We do have a Metal Gear Solid episode coming up at the end of the month. So if you support us on Patreon, or you don't support us on Patreon, support as low as $1 a month, get you access to that, and you can submit your write-ins through there. But yeah, with that being said, episode 218 is coming to a close. But before we let you go, some recos. Micah, what should our dear listeners go check out?
I was saying last week on my first episode that I want to, I'm going to, for recos for the foreseeable future at least, I'm going to try to go through kind of just lesser known indie games kind of, and just highlight those. Some of them will be, somewhat popular, like the one maybe I'm talking about now, I think you maybe heard of. I've got a physical copy, which I don't have many physical copies at all. Like I don't own many physical copies of games. I got like 7 or something like that. Jesse Knopp is screaming right now. But I do have this is the only limited run game I've ever bought. But this game, I'll hold it up to the camera if you're watching YouTube. This game called Gris. It's this indie 2D platformer game for PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC. It's this beautiful watercolor style art where you play this girl, and it's very basic 2D mechanics. Think like it's not like Limbo, but think kind of like the simplicity of Limbo, a game like Limbo or Inside. The puzzles aren't too crazy hard or anything, but it's just a beautiful world with great music, just a lovely platformer that is for fans of people like Journey, or for fans of games like Journey,
right?
And these art style kind of chill games. Gris is a good one.
Yeah,
it's Gris. Gris.
Really cool game. That's a good pick. I remember playing that on the Switch a couple Christmases ago, and I was like, man, this game's really good. Really, really colorful. Really, really good themes too that they bring up on there. Kind of like Journey, how it's more subtle, but if you pay attention to it, you catch it. And so that's a good pick. As far as my recos go, I watched this movie recently, and I was like, man, this is definitely a kid's movie, but I still enjoyed it a lot as a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a surprisingly good movie, and I think relatively clean as well. So if you have some little kids that are getting into video games and you haven't watched Sonic the Hedgehog 2 yet, definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's got some good stuff in there for the adults too. There's some very meta things that Sonic says, and I'm like, man, he really just called out these two guys that have this beef. They've had this beef for years, and it's just right there. And it was hilarious. Me and my wife were just rolling when we did that. But man, that movie does a good job of honoring the source material really well, and just catering to fans both new and old. And like, it's really, really good. And Jim Carrey is one of my favorite just comedians. He does a great job as Eggman, or Robotnik, whichever one. I feel like they're interchangeable. But
both the first Sonic movie and the sequel are really way better than they have any right to be.
Yep.
it's like these movies are to movies like way better than the Sonic games actually are to games almost, if that makes sense.
Well, if that Sonic Frontiers gameplay was anything to compare the two, we're definitely going to get better Sonic movies than we are games in the future. As always with there's an after credit scene, so definitely watch that. It got me very, very pumped. For future movies. There's that. My other Reco is going to be, maybe you don't want to watch movies. Maybe you want to get out and do something with your family or friends. Something that me and my wife did when we were on vacation. We went and did an escape room for the first time, and we had an insane amount of fun with that. I was like, man, this is like the puzzles in Resident Evil, but in real life, and there's no zombies, and I'm not scared. This is great. But it was a lot of fun. So if you have an escape room near you that you can go to with some friends or some family, or maybe your spouse or whatever, definitely go check it out. They're a lot of fun. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I was like, man, I need to tell J Cubed about this because he's going to be ecstatic. And here we are like a week later. I'm like, I forgot to tell J Cubed about it. So, but J Cubed, if you're listening, man, I finally did an escape room. Love them. Want to go do some more. They're great. But cool. Yeah, as always, dear listeners, if you like what we're doing here at TRG, you can support us over on Patreon and get early, uncut access to all of our episodes and things like that and more. We actually have an episode catering or where I brought on a professor from Southwestern and we talked about evangelism, the importance of it and all that stuff. You can get early access to that. Patrons, if you're listening to this, you can get it here in a couple days. And then if you're listening to this on public feeds, you would have access to it if you support us on Patreon at $1. So you can get the episodes pretty early with how we record them. If you can also head on over to YouTube to get extra content from us. I just uploaded episode 1 of my Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach playthrough. Kind of regret picking that game to celebrate 1,000 subscribers, but got to do it. I started it. I can't just quit it. I did that with Metroid Dread, and I quit that playthrough halfway. I can't do that with this one, so we'll play through it together. Alex, I'm playing it so you don't have to, man. I'm looking out for you. You can always get links to everything TRG related on our website. Link will be in your show notes. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those places. Join our Discord server and all that jazz. But dear listeners, thank you for listening to this episode of The Reformed Gamers. And until next time, be a deer, keep it locked here, and we'll see you in the next episode.